Welcome to Go Live TV, the future in your hands. The only multicultural IPTV station that brings communities together. Over 2.7 million people have already watched. Go Live TV, anytime, anywhere.
Hi everyone. As you know, I'm your host for the CYPER show, and I'm Berita Lawrence. I welcome you all, those who are following us live on Facebook and those who have downloaded the Go Live app and following our show every Thursday at 3 p.m. I welcome you all and those who will be following us through our YouTube channel, saying thank you for being with us. Today, I woke up feeling this word in my heart, love. And so many people have different definition of what that means to them. And to some people, to some that I have shared my thoughts with, they told me love has different languages, like they say, 5 different languages of love. If you don't know them, you can look up to them anywhere. And I said, what is love when it becomes to a human being? What are people willing to do for love? And as I dig deeper into that thought, into that word in itself, I realized that we have lost the meaning of it along the way. In trying to prove, in trying to understand this, we have so much complicated the simple. So what is love when it comes to humanity? What is love when it comes to human beings amongst each other? What would you do for love? Today I challenge you, as we get into our conversation with my incredible guest, who I will introduce to you in a minute, to understand what you think love means to you, the way you want to be loved. In that way, like I always said, there is this word that I believe in called ubuntu, which means there is no ending of me, there is no way you begin. Everybody is an extension of one another. So if love is really in existence, if love is real, then how do you want to be loved? And then start practicing that with other people too, because everything we give comes back around. So I challenge you today, practice your ways of loving yourself and other people too, and let's make the world a better place in the best ways we know how to. So as I introduce you my incredible guest, she is an amazing woman. I read her work, I watched her videos, as she is a guest as well. Come on, introduce yourself and say your name the best way, because I want to do justice to you.
Hello, Go Live TV. My name is Simone Jennifer Smith.
Yeah.
And I am, do you want me to give some titles?
Please do.
Okay. So where do I begin? So I'm the founder of an organization called Here to Help. And Here to Help is the basis of everything that I do. So it's what has launched me into doing a lot of the other projects that I'm working on. It's the foundation of all of my projects. So as a founder, I work as a community development. I work in the community with families. I also work with an organization. It's a newspaper and media outlet called CAREB 101 Media Group, and that incorporates 3 different sets. So it's CAREB 101 Radio, TCN Television, and Toronto Caribbean Newspaper.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's incredible, because you're saying that Here to Help is how you began. Yes. What's the definition of that? What's your understanding how people say mission statement? But in your raw, authentic way, what was your intent to start that?
So interestingly enough, the Here to Help, my name Simone in Hebrew means to hear. And my background, most of it is in psychology. So there's actually there's a backstory to that. So when I was a lot younger, I watched someone in my family, my grandmother, actually she suffered from schizophrenia and Alzheimer's. And at a very young age, I watched a woman who I loved, who I thought was very strong. I watched her lose her mind in front of me, and it was a very scary thing to watch. And at that young of an age, I don't even know how I knew.
I can imagine. How old were you at that time?
When my grandma, I think I was 9 or 10 when I first started seeing my grandma get shock therapy. So again, this is me visiting like a mental health institution at a young age. Yeah. So I've been learning and understanding mental health for a long time. Like I'm not new to this game at all. So at the age of 15 or 16, I already knew what I wanted to do. I knew, and I said to my mom, I said, Mom, if I ever was to end up like my grandmother, I want to know how I got there. So that's what set
wow.
the course, because it's just to even understand how someone's mind can fracture like that. It's like, how does that happen? I wanted to know. I wanted to know everything about it. So that started my journey into the world of psychology and psychotherapy and mental health. And I did that all throughout school. I have my master's in humanistic and clinical psychology.
Wow.
And when I came back, I actually did that off in Michigan. And when I came back to Toronto, red tape, a lot of foolishness, a lot of nonsense.
Of course,
it kind of, life happened.
It is.
So I had to figure out something to do with all the knowledge that I had. And this is how Here to Help started. I knew that there was a need in the community, not just for mental health, but even with education. I realized in our community that we don't get the educational opportunities that sometimes other cultures do get. So I wanted to provide for my community the absolute best in everything, the best in mental health, the best in education.
Trust you are, from what I've heard already, you are, and truly I am inspired in the best ways, and to have that element where it's your real life story, the things that you have experienced that push you to do that. Because you saw a problem. Most of us see problems and then we hinder ourselves into a place of depression or being sad or feeling helpless, really.
It's very easy.
But to actually see a problem and get up and back, I'm going to fight and spend the rest of my life providing answers. It's incredible.
You know what? It's really, really easy to fall into that state. Especially with what's going on in our day and time now, like, it's easy to go from feeling absolutely normal to absolutely depressed to feeling anxious to feeling kind of manic. It happens.
Trust me, I thought I was bipolar like a few days ago.
Like, honestly, it's because it's easy now. There's a lot going on. And if you don't have a grounding, if you don't have a spiritual grounding, if you don't have a really good support system, if you don't have people you can turn to, it's very easy to fall through the cracks. So it's a lot of work.
Like when you say when you don't have that spiritual grounding, I'm thinking of ways that we try to find answers, like you said. You go to school to find answers, but when you don't have that spiritual answers, even if we have the knowledge of books, even if you have knowledge from doctors, it's almost like you're still being moved by the wind, I say.
Absolutely, because everything begins in the spirit, and a lot of us don't realize that. It begins in the spirit before it manifests in the flesh. So
literally slapping my spirit right now.
So to know that and to understand that, you know, at the end of the day, anything that happens in the physical world, you know that in order to deal with it, you have to go back to the spiritual world. You have to go back to the spirit because it began there. And that's where if it begins, it can end. So,
wow.
Listen, mind you, I'm just saying that right now because sometimes when I'm living life, it doesn't happen that way.
I'm dropping my jaw right now, literally. Thank you. Because you're saying where it begins, it's where it ends. And they were telling us that the reason why I'm like taking you everywhere just because like of how excited I am to have you here and all of your knowledge. And I'm like, how do I get all your life experiences and the things that you have been able to learn to get you to share it in the next 15 minutes? But I am glad and I'm honored. They were saying that the reason why we keep questioning God is because we want to understand who created God. And it's almost like, no, he is the one who is and was before everything began. He has no time or space or anything.
That's right.
So when you say where it began, it's where it ends, it makes me feel like my purpose in life or my service to people does not have a limit or does not need anyone's permission because he has no permission. Like he who is nice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? It's that purpose piece. You just spoke about purpose. Who am I, right? But that's a great question because a lot of people, we don't know who we are.
Right.
And this is how come we don't understand our purpose, right? So for you to know who you are, I think is the basis of even understanding purpose. So you're in the right direction, girl.
So how does someone get to know who they are? Maybe for those who are following us and who feel like they're lost and they're trying to find things that have meaning, Because these days we're getting stuck into making money and you want to find a job after job and then there is no satisfaction and then you find little things to entertain yourself or to please yourself and then it's momentarily too. But I feel like you're saying, it all starts with knowing who you are. So what are the best things that have helped you to understand you as yourself?
Becoming still. You see how you were just saying how, we're here doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. We do a lot of doing in life. How many times, and even for you, think about it, how many times do you just become still, where you're not doing something, where you're not thinking about something, you're not talking about something, you're not on social media, you're not watching television, you're not doing anything, becoming still with yourself. A lot of people aren't able to do that, because when you become still, that's when you start to reflect and things come back to you. So the good, the bad things that you've done, the trauma you've gone through. No one wants to deal with that. That's why no one does it.
Everybody wants something. Let me distract myself. Even when I sit for 2 minutes, I'm like, oh my God, let me at least listen to us. I find myself scrolling through things I have no idea, I don't care for, just so I don't have to think about my own brain.
It's distractions. So finding a way, the number one way I think for everyone to learn, to even begin the steps of learning how to, or who you are as a person, you have to stop. Become still. You have to find a way to cut down on the distractions in your life. We are so distracted by everything that's going on that we do not have the time to even realize our purpose and what we have to do. And sometimes it's even having the right people around you to help you understand what your purpose is supposed to be, right? We don't have sometimes the greatest people around us, and it keeps us distracted from our purpose.
So how do you pick the right apples?
Oh, you see, this is the thing. You can't pick anything.
Oh, wow. So I have it all wrong.
You don't pick anything. You have to let your spirit guide you. See, this is another thing. Remember we talked about it always beginning in the spirit? We decide, we sometimes think we know what's good for us.
Absolutely.
You know, they say whenever you think of make up a plan, God laughs at you because it's like, who are you planning for, right? Like, so you can't really pick. We spend most of our life picking partners, friends, and you already know how that works out sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it goes right back in circles. It's like you tried this, you fail, and like I wonder if there is a moment where you're like, you know what, I've had people talk about God and what He's able to do. Why don't I just try Him and see?
And that's the thing.
I wish there was that moment in everybody's life.
But you know why they don't do that? Because they're not still.
Oh,
right?
So you have to be still
to
realize that.
You have to be still. You have to be able to connect. If you are not still, if you stay distracted by everything in this world, how do you expect to even hear what your ancestors or what God is saying to you? You can't. You stay in your head, right? The world keeps you distracted. The wrong friends keep you distracted, right? Even the wrong job can keep you distracted, right?
The wrong job, yeah. That's a deep one, because we're like, every job is a job as long as it pays.
It's paying.
And I've been having this conversation with lots of my friends, and up until now, like, it sounds like I'm being naive and innocently foolish, because it's like you're telling someone, find yourself, you're unhappy, you're feeling depressed. At the end of the day, whatever money you make, you're not going to be able to enjoy it because you feel like you're drained. Like, you know, when you run a race and when they give you a World Cup or whatever, you're not even able to enjoy it because your legs are already broken.
Yeah.
So I'm like... find something, but then I'm like, these people need something to survive by. So how do we teach purpose and service to others when also some people have to fight for their own survival?
You know what? That it's such a, you know what it is? Because it's different for everyone. Like I can give thoughts, right? But everyone has their own journey. Everyone's gonna find that their purpose, how to get to their purpose their own way. There's no cookie cutter method to doing this. The only thing that I could ever suggest to people, and even for those who always say, well, they don't believe in God, you believe in something.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so
100%.
trust in that. Open yourself up to that. That's all you can ever do. We have to stop trying to rely on ourselves to do things.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Him, we wouldn't wake up every morning. When we go on the road and we think we're going to get home, no, not necessarily. Like, we're here because He's allowed us to be here. And we have to remember that, right? He's allowed us to live each day. So when we wake up every morning, it's like, thank God I'm here.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah.
What am I going to do today to lead me closer to my purpose? What am I going to do today? Like, how am I going to get in trouble today?
Yeah.
And how's this me getting in trouble going to end up being part of my purpose? Like, because everything you do, people think that, you know, oh, this happened, so it's leading me away from. No, every single thing you do is meant to happen. Everything that happens to you is part of your journey. even if it's disastrous, because I've been through, listen.
What is one thing that you've gone through and in the moment you are
One
like,
thing?
oh God, not like this, the one that comes to mind quickly when you think about the moments where like, oh my God, I'm losing time. Oh my God, this is wrong or the wrong path. But then later on you realize, oh, this, I don't know. It was what's supposed to be teaching me right now.
So I think the one experience that comes to mind and it sticks out the most was I spent some time in prison. I was incarcerated for a little bit. And
how long?
So I was in a Panamanian prison for a month, and I spent 2 weeks in an American correctional facility, and then I spent 5 years on house arrest. And during that time, obviously, I'm thinking, first of all, how did I get here?
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Was it at least something you did that you feel like that it was expected, the results were expected?
You know what's interesting about that? Sarita, the funniest thing about that question is what I got in trouble for, I wasn't doing. There was things that I was doing outside of what I got in trouble for that if I had gotten caught for those things, but do you see how God works? And that's the thing is God sometimes has a way, listen, he finds a way to correct you without overly hurting you. He doesn't want any of us to be in pain. But he allowed me to go through something and experience something painful enough to change my life, but not to damage me, not to severely damage. Because if I had gotten caught doing some of the things that I was doing when I was a lot younger, I would not be sitting in front of you right now. So he allowed me to go through something just enough to show me that, Simone, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be on that path. Let's just shift you a little bit and put you in enough trouble that you stop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Stop what you're doing. Focus. Become still. Because when you're not, listen, when you're sitting, listen. When you are sitting in a prison cell, with no distractions. You have no phone. You don't have television. You don't have friends. You have nothing but walls. Believe me when I tell you, you become very still. You have no choice but to think about every single thing you have done in your life that's led you to that moment. And then all you could do, and all I did do, was think about everything I was going to do when I got out of the situation to correct what I had done. So
they say that God sometimes sets you apart to set you apart.
Yes, that's the best way to say it. That's exactly what happened. I got set apart.
I'm so glad in this moment and thankful that he loved you that much.
Absolutely.
And he loved you enough to say that I've given you way so much fire in you that even if I let you walk through this, you're not going to burn.
That's right. And you know what? The best thing about, and I always say to people, the best thing about going through a traumatic situation is that anything else that happens to you after that, you can always reflect back on that trauma and say, look, I got through that. And if I could get through that, I'll get through this.
Nothing else.
Listen to me, nothing will ever hurt me and bring me to a place so low like that situation. That 7 years of my life was the absolute lowest point of my life. I lost everything that I'd made, everything that I'd worked for. People who I loved, I lost their respect, which is probably the hardest part of it all. There is no lower than that. There's no way you can drop further than that. So at this point in my life, even when daily battles that come up, nothing will ever beat that. So I know, and I always tell people, whenever you think you're not going to get past a situation, always look at the situation that that harmed you the most.
Let me tell you, you are literally a definition of Eve. I was reading about this woman that everybody dislikes so much because we blame her for what's happening in the world. And I'm watching you through that mirror in a sense that you lost your family, you lost your friends, probably some even blamed you. They're like, some of the things like, I'm hurt, I'm depressed because she did this. But in a sense, Eve was still blessed at the end to say, but it's like, no, go, your legs will step on the serpent's head. And the serpent is the cruelest of all animals. It's the worst. It's something that we give an example in relevance to anyone who betrays us, anyone who becomes mean or terrible human beings against us. But he gave you the power to step on that.
Absolutely.
And I say you are a definition of Eve. I'm like, I'm in awe of everything you've gone through just so you can tell us and lighten up our lives too. Because I feel like, wow, I don't think I'll be left the same after this conversation.
And the thing about it, there's so much more.
Okay.
Like when I tell you there's so much more to my life, like there's no way we ever be able to talk about it in the time we have.
What are the things that your own personal principles that you go by now? Maybe start that way.
So one thing, I think probably the one thing that sticks with me the most is be okay with the mistakes you make. Because every mistake you make is supposed to be a learning situation or a learning moment for you. So I don't worry about making mistakes. I make mistakes, Rita, all the time. Yeah. In my life, in my relationships, with the work that I do, I make mistakes. And I don't carry them on to the next day. What I try to do is reflect on them and learn from them. I tell my students that too. Don't be afraid. When we're younger, we're so afraid of making a mistake. It's like, oh my God. It's like, no, that's the only way that you learn. So be proud of your mistakes. Go out there and try to make mistakes. It's the best thing to do. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything, right?
Wow.
Because that means you're not even trying. You're not even attempting to move outside the little comfort zone that you call yours. You know?
Wow.
So that's probably the one principle that I'm not afraid of making mistakes at all. And I do them every day. Trust me, I screw up every day.
I always say like it's the best way. Someone tells me, oh, I'm weird or I'm complicated or I'm unorganized. And to me, I'm like, I love that. That means you're a human being.
Yeah.
Because every other reflection of, oh, I'm this perfect human being. I make this and this is my line of life. I'm like, what do you mean a line of life? Like, I don't know how. That's one thing I'm fighting with. I don't know. I used to think it's a terrible thing. Even right now, I'm still unsure, but I think I'm getting to be a little bit okay with it in the sense of like, I don't know how to make plans. So let's say if you tell me let's meet next week, I'm like, I'll tell you that day or the day before that. Because I don't know how I'll feel about it. I don't know if I'll still meet the spirit to connect with you. And to be honest, that has, like, I used to hate myself. I'm like, there is so many opportunities, so many relationships that I could have, that I think would have gotten me somewhere, that have improved my life certain ways, but I have lost them because of that. But also, there are things that have been able to be saved, literally saved. From terrible things, by not just showing up. And I'm like,
but you know what then? Maybe you should look at those people that you didn't see as you're not supposed to see them. Maybe you were not supposed to mix up with them. Maybe you're not supposed to talk to them. Again, every single thing that happens is part of your journey. Every single thing. Do not ever look at anything as being small or minuscule in your life. It doesn't matter what it is. Every single thing is supposed to be part of your journey. And if those people that you missed are supposed to be in your journey now, they'll come back. They always do.
Oh, my God. And looking at all the things you've gone through, looking at where you are in your life, what are the things you're most grateful for?
I'm grateful for love. And I mean love from the people in my life, love from my parents, love from my friends. It's the only thing that keeps me going. Is that idea of love. When you started it with love, I was like, she's right on. It's always been something that's important to me. I love the idea of love. I love being in love. I love that word.
It's the only Ethiopia that you can walk with and create around yourself in this world.
It's a beautiful feeling. Like, who doesn't love to be in love? Like it's the greatest
Start from there. I think everybody would chase that. It's like we're chasing an idea. I want to be in love. I want to find someone to love. I want to do something. Like, what are you doing for yourself to feel that love?
And you know what? Self-love. It does start with self-love. If you do not love yourself, there's absolutely no way that anyone will be able to love you because you don't know. You don't even know how to love yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And for you to be able to give that love. So it's very important that the love does start with self and then obviously radiate outwards. So
as a living testimony of everything, like anyone could, you have lived, you've had the experience, and I say you've lived. You haven't, like, I won't call it a mistake, I won't call it anything, I won't call it trouble. I'll say you have lived, which is how I think not everybody should go to prison or anything, but like in a sense that you had a human experience.
Please don't.
Kids don't.
Skip that. Skip that part of the learning experience if you can.
And amen to that. But like, in a sense, like, you've gone through all these things where most people would hate themselves for that. Most people would doubt themselves. Most people would never have trust for themselves. How do you get back to loving yourself the way you are and attract all the good things, including the impact you're creating? Because I see you're already sharing stories and telling stories of other people through the magazine you work at, through your TV. And also, like, how do you round back to being, I gotta love myself and just accept me. Because I feel like we hate ourselves because we don't expect ourselves.
That is a journey. So that self-loving piece is not something that stops. It's something that you fall back, and then sometimes you don't love yourself as much. I have my days where I'm very mad at myself. There's things that I don't forgive myself for. Forgiveness would probably be the most difficult thing, I think, for me, is to forgive myself for some of the things that I've done. So it's hard sometimes because I look in the mirror and I get mad. There's things that I want in my life that I don't have yet, right? There's certain things that at my age, a lot of people would be like, well, you know, you're 42 years old, Simone. You know, why haven't you been married? Why haven't you had children? And these are things that I hear all the time. Sometimes, like, yeah, because of the decisions in my life, I look at myself and I get really, really upset, and I'm mad at myself. And it's hard to love yourself when you're feeling this angry. But again, you take it back, you become still. I become still, and I remind myself that I am a work in progress. This is part of my journey. This is how God tests my faith. God is not going to give you something until it's the right time.
Wow.
Right? Mm-hmm. He's not going to just, you think it's the right time, God, but it may not be the right time. Me. It's not the right person. It's not your season. Everything is in seasons. So right now, I am just waiting for my season. It's coming.
Yeah.
Right? I had my years of things not working out for me.
It's about time.
My season's here, and I'm speaking it. Mm-hmm. My season is here. I will be a mother. I will be a wife.
Amen.
These are things that I say now. This is how I show my self-love. Mm-hmm. I affirm myself every single day. Even when I hate myself, I affirm myself. Even when I look in the mirror and I don't want to forgive myself, I affirm myself. Mm-hmm. This is meant for me, and it's going to happen.
Absolutely, and amen to that. I always believe that as long as you're still breathing, as long as you have life in you, that's good enough to say you have everything else you wish for.
Absolutely.
Because the most priceless of all, it's like having an industry and then like a machine that creates things, and then you're like, oh, I want this, but you have what makes it.
Yes.
So you have the access, you have the key, everything, and I am believing and praying that it is your season.
Amen. Thank you, sister. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It is going to be. So maybe as we head to the end of our discussion, what are the things that your inner voice, that you feel tells you when everything is fading out? So you had the story of your grandmother, the life she's gone through, and there is what you're fighting to help other people who might be going through the same diseases. There is you creating all these organizations, but there is where they came from. So what is that voice? What does it tell you when you want to overcome everything else outside that tells you otherwise, that tells you it's impossible to achieve it, that tells you that there is no solution?
So that voice, unfortunately, that voice can be very negative sometimes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That voice can be not the greatest voice, and it's, again, something that you have to learn how to do. I call it reframing. So when those negative, because to be honest with you, sometimes negative thoughts go through our head a lot more than positive thoughts do. So days where I'm not feeling as strong, not feeling as much of myself, if I'm going through something emotionally, if I'm going through something mentally, I've learned how to reframe. Now, reframing your thoughts means taking the negative thought and as soon as it comes to your head and replacing it with a positive thought.
Wow. That's a spiritual work.
Reframing, yes. So it's taking that so it's the thought pops in my head and it's not a good one, and almost instantaneously, I have to find a positive one to replace it. Because if not, what happens with that negative thought is it sits there and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and louder, and the voice gets louder and louder and louder and louder and louder until you're consumed and all you're thinking about is that But if you just reframe it with that positive and let that positive become, because that's what I have to do. It's the work that I'm working on right now, is just reframing my thought, because there's little things that pop up in my head that will distract me from the work that I have to do, things that pop up that are going to distract me from what I want to build, things that pop up that are going to distract me from the relationships I'm trying to hold together, things that pop up that are going to distract me from the work that I'm trying to do. And if I'm not mindful, they'll crush me.
Yeah.
So I have to reframe, and I put positive thoughts and put them in and continue to put them in. I get up in the morning. I'm a person who gets up at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning. And every morning I meditate and I talk to God and I have him talk to me and I ask questions sometimes and I wait for his answers and I speak positivity into my day. And these are the things that I have to do every single day in order for me to make sure that I'm the woman that I appear to be.
Ooh,
Not who I fake to
wow.
who I appear. I have to be her. So I have to make sure I become her. When I walk out with a shield, but I walk out that way because I prep myself mentally, spiritually, physically. But remember, where does it start?
So spiritually.
It starts in the spirit, right? Always.
Wow. Maybe as last word, use 5 words. It's almost like a prayer. I'm asking you to pray.
Okay.
But say it in the most words that you think kind of take a weight off your shoulder when you say them out loud.
No weapons formed against me shall prosper. 6 words. No weapons formed against me shall prosper.
6 words.
6 words.
Say it one more time for everyone who is following us on Go Live TV, Facebook, download the app, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow this beautiful, incredible woman who I think your life will be changed for better. We've only had a few minutes, and this is, for those who won't even believe it's our first time meeting, but I feel like I am walking through fire to be made whole and to be made better. So thank you for using your words to sharpen my knife.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Do you want me to say them again?
Yes,
6
please.
words?
Yeah.
No weapons formed against you shall prosper.
Amen. Thank you so much. See you next Thursday at 3 p.m. on Go Live TV. Thank you so much. God bless you.